Good morning. It's Thursday, February 24th, 2000, and it's my pleasure to be here with Nicole Davis, a December 1999 graduate at the University of Arizona, James E. Rogers College of Law.
Hi, Vicki.
Thank you for being here with us, Nicole.
You're welcome.
So I want to know, first of all, what did you do yesterday?
You asked because you really want me to tell you. I took the bar exam yesterday.
Well,
So.
you must have done okay because you're still walking around in your hair.
Yeah,
So
we'll see in a couple of months.
Thanks for coming. Tell us, let's go back a couple years.
Okay.
Tell me why you decided to go to law school.
Actually, I went to law school because I was working for a company and I honestly was doing things I was doing their job for my bosses, and I decided that there was no reason for them to be making the money and not me. And so I needed a career change. So law school was the right way to go.
Good. Why did you come here?
To be perfectly honest, I came to U of A because it was far enough away from home to not be easily accessible, but close enough to get back if I needed to.
Mm-hmm. Where are you from?
California.
Okay, great. How many students do you think were in your first year class?
About 152,
Mhm.
give or take.
How many will be graduating in May that would have been your class?
I think all with the exception of one. Well, and then those of us who came out in December, because
Right.
there were several of my classmates who graduated early with me, but
Okay.
if we were all on the same track, we would have all come out with the exception of one or two who transferred.
Great. What do you think the average age of your classmates was?
When we started first year, roughly 25, 26, but that's because we had some older students. We had,
Mhm.
generally speaking, kind of a young class though.
Okay. How many women do you think were in your class?
Give or take 40%.
Mm-hmm. How about minorities?
Depends on which minorities you're talking about specifically. I mean, if you want to talk about African Americans at the law school, there are, give or take, 12 total.
Mm-hmm.
With respect to Native Americans, their percentages are higher than ours, but not great by any stretch of the imagination. With respects to Latinos, they do a little better than, I think, Native Americans and also African Americans, but small again. And with
Mhm.
respect to Asian Americans, again, small percentages. I mean, tiny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell me how hard it was to get into law school when you applied.
That's a tough question because, to be perfectly honest, I did what I needed to do to be prepared to go. You know, I did undergrad, got the necessary GPA, I got the necessary LSAT scores. I didn't get into all of the schools I wanted to go to, i.e. those Ivy Leagues, but,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I didn't find it too tough, but, you know, it was on par with
Mhm.
other things that you want to do.
Okay. Tell me what you did in the summer between law school years.
First summer, I spent my summer in Italy with Jennifer Duska and Suzanne Garcia, and actually Sean Steinberg and Brandy and Ryan Purcell and a couple of other those of us who went gallivanting off. We did summer abroad. We did studies. And we took a couple classes over there. And then the remaining half of that summer, I split it. I worked at a small firm in Los Angeles. And then the second summer, I spent the summer with Brian and Bain.
In Tucson?
That's you. Actually, no, in the Phoenix office.
Oh, okay. And is that where you're going to work?
That will be my job. That is where I'm going.
Congratulations.
Thank
Great.
you.
We're glad you're staying in state. Okay, let's talk about the clinical programs here. Did you
Yes.
participate in any?
I did. I did the prosecution clinic with Dr. Jordan Curtis.
What was it like?
You know, it was a great experience. I think that a lot of times lawyers compare themselves to doctors with respect to, once you get out of school, are you actually prepared to go and do something on a practical basis? And the clinical program was one of those things, even though I've decided that I didn't want to prosecute and that I wanted to go into private work, that it was one of the best experiences I could have had. It forced me to get into court. It forced me to be in front of a judge. It forced me to think fast on my feet. It forced me to be able to research things and actually go figure out, you know, the law in these particular areas. And so it was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot.
Good. What kind of student activities were there outside the classroom in law school?
I'm probably not the best person to talk to you about that because I don't really do too many, well, you mean like on-campus activities? There's a ton of different
Both.
organizations and clubs and all of that, those types of things that you can get involved in. I mean, the College of Law has, oh God, it's the different volunteer programs that I'm thinking of. I couldn't call them by name because, again, I'm kind of a, you know, do my own thing kind of girl, so it's a little tougher. But there were plenty. I mean, there was enough to get involved in if you chose to get involved.
And
But-
did students socialize just outside the law school campus area too?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Good.
They hang out together.
Where did most of your classmates live?
Off campus, in the general vicinity though, I would suspect. I mean, there are a few who live a little further out, you know, within the city limits, but not too far away.
Were there any married students in your class?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot?
I don't know if I would say a lot. I mean, enough that I could name 3 or 4 off the top of my head if I was actually thinking about it. So there were definitely some.
Were there parents in your class?
Yeah, there were. I know that the class ahead of us, there were more parents, I think, in that class, and then I think the class behind us. Our class, not particularly so, but there were definitely married students. I don't know how many parents there were.
Well, you said you had a pretty young class, you thought. So.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Tell me about, we won't ask too much about the bar exam since you just suffered through it, but tell me about what it was like.
Survive it.
Yeah, there you go. You're a walking
Survive
advertisement. What were the job prospects like when you were looking for a job?
The job prospects are kind of interesting. As a minority student, I did a lot of minority job fairs and things like that, so I availed myself of those opportunities. But I think for the most part, job opportunities have a lot to do with how you do in school, you know, and also with respect to what you want to do. It all depends. If you want to go work in a large firm, then you need to be sure that you get the kind of grades that are going to allow you the opportunities to go and do that. If you want to go into public work, if you want to prosecute or defend, there are more internships available that can kind of get your foot in the door and things like that. So I think it really just depends on what you want to do. But there's plenty out there. There's enough work for all of us.
Good. What were some of your favorite classes in law school?
Ugh, my favorite class in law school. Oh, well, to be perfectly honest, God, favorite class. Okay, I'll tell you why I liked them too. I liked contracts because of our Feel Good Fridays. And so during first year, those were real important because we were kind of all stressed out and we would kind of come into class and we could just talk to each other and kind of be human beings instead of being law students. So
who was your
that
professor?
Was nice. Professor Hagland. Now, one of my favorite classes, probably one of my tougher subjects as well, was common law with now Dean Massaro, then Professor Massaro. One of my favorite subjects, and she'll laugh because she'll remember I threw my book against the wall for being frustrated, but it's one of my favorite classes because I learned a lot. Wow. I've taken so many. I can't remember.
Well, you just named 2 and you didn't think you were going to come up with any,
You
so
know,
you're doing fine.
that's true. I must say though, I like Professor Andrews' tax class. I learned a lot in there as well.
Good.
Big tax. Take it.
Tell me about the reading assignments for law school.
Depends on what year you're in.
Yeah.
In all seriousness. First year, you know, you feel like you're going through it and it feels like there's a lot. And I think that's because you're getting adjusted to what it is that you're trying to learn, you're getting adjusted to the language that they use in case law. You're just getting used to learning in a different way. Second year, there's definitely more reading. By anybody's stretch of the imagination, there's just more of it quantity-wise. And then my third year was kind of short because I came out in December, so for me, it felt like there was more than there was during second year, but that could have been just because I had more things to do. So.
What were your examinations like?
Depends on the professor. Depends on the professor, it really does. Usually they were all written exams though. They were all written exams, and
Essays?
no, not all essays. Not all essays. We definitely had those multiple choice demons that I dislike so much. But we had them. So, but you know what? In all seriousness, the exams were fair. The exams were fair. If you did your homework, if you studied and you prepared, the test was fair. Nothing was not doable.
Good.
They were fair.
How long did they usually give you to take a test?
3 hours.
Okay.
3 hours.
Good. What was the method that professors like to teach their students with?
We'd probably compare it to those methods of old. I would still say Socratic because they call on you without you necessarily volunteering. However, it wasn't a brutal form of the Socratic method that you hear about in like the paper chase and all those different movies and stuff. It wasn't quite that bad. They're calling you, if you don't really know, they kind of lead you in the right direction, and they kind of try and help you get there. But then you also, have some professors who just call on you out the blue, and it's kind of like, well, can I pass today? Because I didn't read that. So it just depends.
Do they say yes?
Depends on the professor. Everything is so subjective. Some professors say yes, and others are like, no, we don't do passes. Or if they let you pass that one time, you're on for the remainder of the semester. Yeah. You become the pet project.
You just graduated, so this should be
Yes.
fresh in your memory. Tell me about your graduation ceremony.
Graduation was great. Graduation was great. There's so much emotion going on at that particular time. And I actually spoke at my graduation, so it was a little more, I don't want to say it was more important than anyone else's graduation, but it was very special for me. It's just a really great experience. It's kind of like a culmination of all the things that you've been doing, and you've been studying so hard and working towards this one particular goal, and to kind of walk down that little aisle and have them call your name, and it really feels good. It really feels good. If I could tell you guys anything about, I would say participate in the large ceremony on main campus. Phenomenal experience.
Well,
It
good.
really is. It really was. It was just to sit in that huge auditorium and have your name called to receive your Juris Doctorate, after all this work that you put in, it was really worth it.
Great.
It was worth it.
Okay, let's talk about your professors.
Okay.
How many do you think there were when you were in law school?
Definitely my fair share of them, because I didn't take them all.
Right.
So I'd probably say more than 20, less than 40,
Okay.
give or take.
And were they accessible outside of the classroom?
Always. Always.
Who were some of your favorite ones?
Everyone knows my favorite professors. Oh, but actually she's Dean Massaro now. I still call her Professor Massaro. She's Dean Massaro. She's definitely one of my favorite professors. I learned so much from her. She was always available to talk, and she really cares. She cares a lot about the students and about whether or not you're retaining the information. I also love endlessly Jane Corn. Her method of teaching was phenomenal, and she was so clear that it made class a pleasure. It was actually very nice to go because she was very clear, and she kept control. She kept control of her classroom.
Great. Tell me what you remember about Dean Seligman.
My A in his corporations class. But actually, what do I remember about Dean Seligman? Wow, that's tough. An interesting personality. He had an interesting personality. I remember that about him. He's a good fundraiser. I remember that
Yes, he
about
is.
him. But as a professor, I liked him as a professor. He was very on top of his subject. He was very on top of it, and it was easy. I shouldn't say it was easy, but it was easy to learn. He made it easy to learn. And generally speaking, I think he was a good dean for the school for the time that he was here. I was surprised when he left.
Tell me the most interesting thing that happened at the law school when you were a student.
The donation, the money from Mr. Rogers, probably. There was a lot of hoopla surrounding that when the donations came in, and we started getting a lot of attention from a lot of different people. And people were like, oh, you go to that school that just got that whole bunch of money.
Right.
Did they give you any? So that was one of the big things, the money.
And what was going on in the world at large when you were in law school that you were aware of? A lot of law students say they don't really keep up.
I would have to concur with that. I mean, what was going on in the world? Wow. This just is a testimonial to the fact that I don't watch the news. What was going on in the world around me during law school? I don't even know, to be perfectly honest.
How about I give you a
don't
hint?
know.
The White House?
Oh, my Lord, the scandal. And I forgot that, Lord. I just took the bar, though. I'm entitled to
There you go. You are.
brain break.
Okay. I'm going to give you 5 really hard questions now, though,
Okay.
so plug it in. Okay. How well prepared for practice do you feel right now?
That's kind of a mixed question, because I feel very confident in my legal research and writing capabilities. I attribute to that to the way that I was taught here at the school. I feel, because of the prosecution clinic, that I wouldn't be intimidated to walk into court if I needed to do that. I would be okay to go do that. With respect to like the practice overall, I don't know if I would feel prepared to go be a solo practitioner, and just go out and do it on my own and take full responsibility for it. I'd still feel as though I wanted to be somewhat supervised. It just seems like a huge amount of responsibility, and considering the types of liability that one might subject themselves to, I'd be a little apprehensive to do that. But generally speaking, the College of Law has definitely prepared me to go and do the things that I want to do. They've given me the fundamentals.
Great. What would you just say is a defining characteristic of a law school?
It's size. It's small size. I would, definitely. I think that the size of the school keeps it accessible to the students. It gives it kind of, even though it's a school, it has more of a homely type of environment to it because it's so small. There's only 150 students, give or take, in each class, making for less than 500 in the school at any given time. And with such small numbers, you never feel like just a statistic. Your professors know who you are. They know your faces. They know your name, first and last, oftentimes. And so I think that really is one of the things that makes it nice.
Good. If you could change something about legal education, what would you change?
Having just taken the bar, I would be able to elect which one to do, either the bar or law school. I would change the fact that you need to do them both. I would change the fact that you need to do them both. Hindsight may be 20/20, 10 years from now when I look back on this experience and go, wow, I learned such different things from each experience. But as a whole scale, I think that they're different. And so if I could change that, I would be able to elect. If I could go to law school and I could, wave on into the state, that I wanted to be in, or I could choose to study and take that test and do that. I wouldn't do them both. But that's my answer, again, a day after the bar.
If you were to convey a message to future law students, what would you tell them?
You'll love it and hate it. That's what I'd say. You'll love it and you'll hate it, but you'll be glad you did it. It's a personal goal.
Good.
As someone once said, it's an intellectual achievement.
It is, I agree. Okay, finally, Nicole, what would you like to see this law school accomplish in the future?
Wow. This law school. I'd like to see this law school attain a little more diversity, to be perfectly honest. I would like to see more students of color, and specifically more African Americans on this campus. I would definitely, I would say that. As far as the program itself, like the classes and things like that, I'd like to see more specialty.
In any specific area?
It just depends. I know that we have a lot of professors who are really good in their respective areas, whether that's environmental law, whether that's constitutional law, and those things. But given the fact that Arizona is in the Southwest, it's close to California, it's close to Nevada. We might want to have more corporations classes. We might want to have, with respect to corporate law specifically, we might want to have something with regards to entertainment, because people do want to go back to California and things like that. So I think just to specialize in different pocket areas. And I realize, of course, that that's a little tough because, again, we are so small. However, if it could be done, I would like to see that
You get to
change.
dream. This is your mission.
Exactly,
Good. Is there something else that you would like to add that I haven't asked you about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, great.
Just-
Thank you for your time. Enjoy
Thank
some
you.
time off. We'll see you soon.
Okay.